Look closely at the cities you walk through every day, from the grand avenues of London to the historic squares of St. Petersburg and the rising skylines of Chicago and New York. A strange, architectural anomaly stares us in the face, yet we have been trained to look past it. Why are thousands of magnificent neoclassical buildings constructed with their first floors buried deep underground? Why do we see ornate windows half sunken into the pavement, staring out from the dirt? Historians call them daylight basements, claiming they were designed for ventilation in an age before electricity. But the deeper we dig, the more that explanation begins to crumble like old brick. What if the history we are taught in schools is merely a sanitized rewrite? What if, somewhere in the mid-19th century, a global catastrophe, a literal mud flood, wiped the slate clean, burying an advanced civilization under feet of earth and debris? We are told that these grand structures, with their Roman domes, impossible stone precision, and electromagnetic-looking spires, were built by people using horse-drawn carriages and primitive hand tools. Yet, with all our modern technology, we struggle to replicate their grandeur and permanence. Today, Universal Files opens the cabinet on a mystery that challenges the very foundation of the 1800s. We are looking for the Great Reset of our ancestors. Was there a global civilization before us that was literally buried? Who decided to cover up the tracks of our true heritage? Prepare to look at your city and your history very differently. If we look beyond the mud, we find something even more staggering: the technology of the old world. Examine the cathedrals, the state capitals, and the grand exhibitions of the late 1800s. These structures were often adorned with intricate metal spires, massive copper domes, and rose windows that resemble modern frequency patterns. In the official narrative, these are purely ornamental, but to a trained eye, they look like atmospheric energy collectors' antennas for a free energy system that may have powered a global, wireless society. Why does the architecture of Washington, D.C. look identical to the architecture of St. Petersburg, Buenos Aires, and Melbourne? How could civilizations separated by oceans, supposedly using only primitive communication, build with the exact same geometric precision and aesthetic? Some researchers suggest these weren't churches or government halls, but power plants. They were designed to resonate with the Earth's frequency, pulling energy from the ether. When the Great Reset occurred, the survivors didn't build these cities, they found them. They dug out the mud, installed staircases to the second floors, which became the new first floors, and claimed these magnificent structures as their own. The grand exhibitions and world fairs of the late 1800s weren't celebrations of new progress. They were the final liquidation of the old world's technology before it was hidden away or destroyed forever. We are living in the ruins of a giant's world, and we call it civilization. If a global civilization was indeed buried under several feet of mud in the mid-19th century, how could such an event be completely erased from the collective memory of humanity? This is the point where the official narrative becomes a masterclass in psychological manipulation. To understand the Great Reset, we must look at the years following the 1840s, a period marked by strange, massive social engineering projects. Historians tell us that this era was the dawn of progress, but if you look closer, it looks more like a global cleanup operation. Think about the orphan trains of the late 1800s. Hundreds of thousands of children were rounded up in major cities and shipped across continents to be rehomed in the newly discovered territories. Why were there so many orphans? Where were the parents? Some researchers suggest these children were the survivors of the cataclysm a generation without memories, ready to be indoctrinated with a new, fabricated history. They were the blank slates upon which the modern world was written. While the children were being moved, the physical evidence of the old world was being systematically liquidated. This brings us to the suspicious Great Fires of the 19th century. Chicago, San Francisco, London, Moscow, Seattle, Toronto, almost every major city on Earth suffered a massive, citywide fire that supposedly started from a single lantern or a small accident. These fires didn't just burn buildings, they leveled the most magnificent stone and brick structures, the very ones that would be impossible to burn with simple wood-fueled flames. These fires acted as thermal resets, allowing the powers of that time to demolish the complex atmospheric energy tech and replace it with the coal and oil-based infrastructure we are forced to pay for today. We are told that the history of the 1800s is one of industrial revolution. But what if it was actually a hostile takeover of a pre-existing, superior infrastructure? The maps of the 16th and 17th centuries show a world far more populated and technologically consistent than the history books admit. The vast, empty lands of Tartaria, the magnificent star forts found on every continent, and the buried first floors are all silent witnesses to a global unity that was shattered and then hidden behind a curtain of lies. The victors write the history books, and in the mid-1800s, they wrote a story that made us feel like we were the pinnacle of evolution, while we were actually just the inheritors of a golden age we no longer understand. As we peel back the layers of this hidden history, we encounter a structural enigma that spans the entire globe, the star forts. To the casual observer, these are merely military fortifications designed to withstand cannon fire. But there is a glaring problem with this explanation. These forts are found in the thousands, from the coastlines of Florida to the mountains of Russia, and even on remote islands in the middle of the Pacific. Their design is not just defensive, it is mathematical and fractal. When viewed from above, they resemble giant circuit boards or cymatic patterns, shapes formed by sound frequencies in water or sand. Could it be that these were not forts at all? In the universal files' theory, star forts were the nodes of a global energy grid. They were built on ley lines, energetic meridians of the Earth, acting as giant resonators that stabilized the environment and provided wireless power to the cities they were connected to. The precision of their stonework is so advanced that it defies the tools of the 17th and 18th centuries. Every angle, every bastion, and every water-filled moat served a purpose in a complex system of atmospheric energy harvesting. The Great Reset didn't just bury the people, it disconnected the machine. After the cataclysm, the new controllers of the Earth couldn't figure out how to restart the grid, or perhaps they chose not to. They rebranded these energy hubs as forts and castles, creating stories of wars and sieges to explain their existence. They drained the moats, filled the underground resonance chambers with dirt, and turned these magnificent high-tech temples into tourist attractions or military museums. If you look at a map of these forts today, they form a perfect geometric web across our planet. This was a unified world, a world where energy was free, architecture was sacred geometry, and humanity lived in harmony with the Earth's natural resonance. By hiding the truth of the star forts, they have hidden our birthright. They want us to believe we are the first to conquer the Earth, when in reality, we are just the latest occupants of a very old, very sophisticated, and very broken machine. As we walk through the corridors of the old world buildings, we encounter a mystery that is literally larger than life. Have you ever noticed the height of the doors in our most ancient cathedrals, courthouses, and palaces? Doors that stand 20, 30, or even 40 feet tall? Ornate handles positioned far above the reach of a modern human. Massive steps that feel awkward to climb, and ceilings that vanish into the shadows of the sky. Historians tell us these were designed for grandeur and to make the common man feel small in the presence of God or the state. But if every design choice in the old world was functional, as we've seen with the energy harvesting spires, could there be a more biological reason for these scales? The archives of the 19th century are filled with reports that have since been scrubbed from the mainstream. Newspaper clippings from the mid-1800s across America and Europe routinely reported the discovery of massive human skeletons entities 7, 9, or even 12 feet tall, often buried within the very mounds and foundations of the structures we've been discussing. Were the original inhabitants of the pre-reset world much larger than us? If you were to build a world for a race of giants, you would build exactly what we see left behind: massive doorways, towering ceilings, and grand libraries where the books themselves are the size of a modern man's torso. When the Great Reset occurred and the mud settled, the new humans, the ones we see in those eerie, empty 1850s photographs, didn't just move into these cities. They inherited a world that wasn't built for them. They had to install smaller doors within the giant arches, lower the handles, and build secondary floors to make the spaces livable for our current stature. We are like children who have wandered into an abandoned mansion built by our ancestors, unaware that the furniture was made for titans. The suppression of the giant narrative isn't just about archaeology. It's about hiding the fact that humanity was once something much more powerful, much more physically and spiritually immense than the fragile versions of ourselves we see in the mirror today. We have opened the files on the mud flood, the free energy grid of the star forts, and the giants who may have walked our streets. But the ultimate question remains: why does this matter today? Why would the powers of the world go to such extraordinary lengths to bury our true history under layers of mud and lies? The answer is as simple as it is terrifying: control. A people who do not know their true origin are a people who can be easily steered. If you believe that you are the pinnacle of progress, living in the most advanced age in history, you will never question the systems of energy, debt, and dependency that keep you shackled. But if you realize that you are standing on the ruins of a superior civilization, a world of free energy, sacred geometry, and profound human potential, the spell begins to break. The universal files are not just about the past. They are a roadmap for the future. By rediscovering the architectural and energetic secrets of the old world, we reclaim our power. We stop being consumers of a dying system and start being the heirs of a forgotten legacy. The mud is being cleared away, not by shovels this time, but by the awakening of the human mind. Every time you look at an old building and see the buried windows, every time you question the official timeline, you are digging out the truth. History is not a closed book. It is a living archive, and the most important files are the ones they told you never to open. Thank you for accessing this first file of the Universal Archive. The journey has only just begun. Stay curious, stay vigilant, because the truth isn't just out there, it's right beneath your feet. Access closed for now.